In this fleeting existence, do you ever find yourself caught in a relentless pursuit? A subtle yet persistent whisper in the back of your mind, suggesting that you are somehow incomplete, not quite enough? Perhaps you yearn for more, striving endlessly to become better, smarter, kinder, more disciplined, chasing an elusive future self, forever just beyond your grasp. We navigate a world where it feels almost universal to believe something is fundamentally amiss with us, perpetually urged to be more of this or less of that, constantly measuring ourselves against an impossible ideal. But what if I told you that the very thing you've been seeking, the profound truth of your being, isn't something to achieve, but something you already inherently are? Imagine discovering a freedom so absolute, so natural, it renders every worry, every doubt, every imperfection utterly meaningless. Stay with me, because what I am about to share could fundamentally transform how you perceive yourself and your entire reality, liberating you from the greatest illusion that holds humanity captive. My brothers and sisters, consider for a moment that life need not be a constant struggle, a series of arduous tasks to be completed. Instead, envision embracing every aspect of your experience, be it perceived work or cherished leisure, with the boundless spirit of play. There is no fundamental distinction between these states. Every action, every interaction, every breath can be infused with this same effortless joy. It is not about being frivolous, but about relinquishing the heavy burden of seriousness, understanding that the deepest truths often reveal themselves in moments of lightness and unburdened engagement. Imagine approaching your day, your responsibilities, even your challenges, not as obligations to endure, but as fascinating explorations, vibrant dances within the grand theater of existence. Indeed, one of the most profound and liberating truths we can come to realize, and let me be clear, this is not a mystical pronouncement, but a factual observation, is that you did not come into this world in the sense of an outsider arriving. Rather, you came out of it, just as an apple tree naturally brings forth apples, or the universe, in its infinite creativity, expresses itself as peoples. You are not a stranger wandering through an alien landscape, a solitary ego trapped within a body, observing a separate world. Instead, you are an intrinsic, essential part of this very place, embodying its consciousness, its thoughts, its endless self-inquiry. The conventional narrative that we are individual entities divorced from the greater whole is often merely a trick of perception, a linguistic construct that subtly blinds us to our undeniable interconnectedness. There is no definitive line where you stop and the world begins. You are continuous with the flow of existence, much like a wave is an inseparable part of the ocean. Observe a flame, for instance. Does it possess a fixed boundary, an unchangeable shape? No, it is a dynamic process, a constant happening, a living flow. And so too are you, not a static object, but a vibrant verb disguised as a noun. A luminous tapestry of consciousness, feelings, and memories shimmering with the ephemeral beauty of light on water. When you emerged into being, the universe made no error. It was not attempting to test you, to mend you, or to force you into some preordained mold of betterment. It was, quite simply, expressing itself as you. What a truly peculiar, delightful, and intricate expression you are, utterly unique in your rhythm, your voice, your precise blend of laughter and silence. This isn't random, it's design, in the most spontaneous and profound sense. However, somewhere along the journey, a fundamental confusion often takes root. From our earliest days, we are subtly yet persistently taught to override this inherent naturalness, to conform to societal norms, to behave in prescribed ways, to achieve external markers of success, and ultimately, to become someone. In doing so, we unwittingly begin to internalize perhaps the greatest lie of all, the insidious belief that we are somehow not enough, that our very essence is lacking, and that we must perpetually strive to become something other than simply be. Yet, have you ever witnessed a flower straining with effort to bloom, or a magnificent tree rushing to achieve its full height? They simply unfold, growing and blossoming because that is their intrinsic nature, their undeniable unfolding. You too are this unfolding. You too are nature itself, playing out its marvelous drama. You are not a problem awaiting a solution, nor a project demanding completion. You are, in every breathtaking moment, an event of the cosmos, as marvelous and inevitable as the stars themselves. So, I invite you to look again, not merely with your physical eyes, but with the profound depth of your entire being. And perhaps, just perhaps, you will begin to truly recognize the miracle you have always been. I understand that when one hears, "There is nothing wrong with you," the conditioned mind instinctively resists. It may immediately conjure thoughts of your past regrets, your perceived failures, your lingering guilt, ingrained habits, or enduring shame. And yet, even these, my friend, are an integral part of the grand play, the intricate process of your unique journey. We have been handed a story from the very beginning that life is a test, that we are here to prove our worth to some higher power, to society, to our parents, or most insidiously, to ourselves. This narrative transforms us into actors in an unending theater of self-improvement, constantly striving, adjusting, and fixing, as if life were a relentless ladder to be climbed rather than a magnificent mystery to be danced with. But what if this entire premise, this pervasive project, was built upon a fundamental misconception? What if the meaning of life is, quite simply, just to be alive? A truth so plain, so obvious, and so utterly simple, yet one we often bypass in our frantic rush to achieve something seemingly beyond ourselves. Let us try a small exercise. Close your eyes for a brief moment and simply feel the raw sensation of being, the pure aliveness that exists before any opinions, judgments, or criticisms arise. That precisely is you, not the relentless inner critic, not the burdensome timeline of aspirations, not the endless to-do list, but the raw, open presence of simply being here, now. And how, I ask you, could there possibly be anything wrong with that? Observe the clouds, how they do not neatly align themselves into perfect formations, but drift, swirl, form, and dissolve without external judgment. No one scolds a majestic wave for crashing too soon, or a mighty tree for growing in a slightly crooked manner. They are not measured against some cosmic scoreboard. Yet we as human beings often seem to believe we are the sole exception, that we alone must continually justify our existence, that we must somehow earn the right to simply be. This, I believe, is the very root of our suffering, the original and most persistent illusion. The truth is, your perceived imperfections are not errors or flaws. They are the unique textures, the intricate details, the distinctive echoes of your particular song within the universe. You do not need to become worthy of life. You are life itself, magnificently expressing itself in human form. Just as fire inherently flickers and water effortlessly flows, even your earnest attempts to become spiritual, even your deepest desires to improve yourself, are already an integral part of this vast unfolding perfection. It is akin to the ocean trying to become wet, or a sunbeam striving to shine brighter, utterly unnecessary, for it is already its nature. And yet, paradoxically, even that striving is embraced within the grand allowance of existence. So, rather than endlessly chasing some polished, idealized version of who you ought to be, what if you simply noticed, truly noticed, who you already are in this very moment, without alteration, without editing, without a single ounce of effort? There is truly nothing wrong with you. There never has been. It is only the fleeting thought that insists otherwise. And you, my friend, are not that thought. You are the profound silence that lies behind it, the expansive spaciousness that witnesses its coming and going. Once you perceive this, not as a mere intellectual belief, but as a direct, undeniable experience, something deep within begins to relax. And in that sacred space, in that gentle act of letting go, you begin to remember something ancient and true. You are nature itself, wild, vast, gloriously unfinished, and utterly beautiful. You are precisely as you are. When I say you don't need to do anything, I don't suggest a stagnant idleness like a lump of inert stone. No, I mean something far more subtle and profound. I mean, you don't need to strain to be what you already are. You don't try to push the river. Instead, you effortlessly float with its current, for it is the river that does the flowing, not you. In the same way, life itself is living itself through you. Birds don't sing to impress an audience. They sing because it is their very nature to do so. You don't have to forcefully manufacture meaning or chase after purpose. It emerges spontaneously, like a gentle breeze, a sudden laugh, a beautiful melody, when you simply cease your strenuous attempts to produce it. This is what ancient wisdom traditions refer to as effortless action, or wu wei, not laziness or apathy, but the profound art of moving harmoniously with the current of life rather than desperately fighting against it. And when you discover that intrinsic rhythm, the one where you are no longer doing life, but profoundly being it, then the true dance truly begins. Here lies a peculiar paradox. Most of us spend our lives earnestly trying to be ourselves. Yet, the very moment you try, the instant you reach for authenticity, as if it were a product on a shelf, you've already lost it. For the authentic self is not something one can grasp or capture. It is something one gently relaxes into. Trying to force spontaneity is much like consciously trying to fall asleep. The very effort ironically prevents the desired outcome. We are often so preoccupied with questions like, am I doing this right? Am I healed yet? Am I authentic now? That we inadvertently miss the very essence we are tirelessly seeking. It becomes akin to chasing your own shadow around the room, an endlessly fascinating yet ultimately futile endeavor. Of course, there is nothing inherently wrong with this chase. It's quite endearing in its own way. The ego's tireless attempts to polish itself, like a stone being endlessly sanded, refined, spiritualized, are part of the human experience. But eventually, a profound realization may lead to a gentle laugh, as you understand that the very entity tirelessly doing all the fixing is precisely the aspect that doesn't ultimately need to exist in the way you believed. It's all a magnificent piece of cosmic theater. You do not need to become yourself. You already are, right here, in your unique quirks, your undeniable flaws, your quiet moments, your every breath. Authenticity isn't a state you strive to achieve. It's what organically remains when you finally stop pretending. And that, my friends, is genuine freedom. To delve even deeper, we must acknowledge something truly peculiar. The image you hold of yourself was likely not entirely your own invention. It was often handed to you, painstakingly constructed layer by layer, built from countless glances, comments, expectations, criticisms, and affirmations, like a mirror composed of other people's thoughts and reflections. From the moment you were old enough to understand, you were implicitly told who you are, what is acceptable and what is not, what actions earn love and what behaviors invite disapproval. And so, without even fully realizing it, you began to shape yourself according to these reflections, becoming a composite of borrowed ideas, a patchwork personality stitched together from the influences of parents, teachers, spiritual guides, and societal norms. Then one day, perhaps in your 20s or much later in life, a profound weariness may set in, not physical exhaustion, but an existential fatigue. As if you've been wearing someone else's clothes for so long that you've forgotten the intimate feel of your own skin. This, my friends, is the moment, that subtle flicker of rebellion, that nascent sense that the persona you've been so diligently performing is not the true, vibrant life residing within. The most perilous thing one can do is to believe your own role, for while the role may be fine, even useful in the world, it is not truly you. You are the magnificent consciousness playing the role. You are the actor, not the mask. Yet society often teaches us to mistake the elaborate costume for the very being. We become the good child, the strong individual, the productive adult, and in doing so, we sometimes forget that we are also an untamed storm, a delicate poem, an unfolding mystery. So, when people advise, be yourself, they often inadvertently mean, be the version of yourself that we like the most. But that is not true freedom. That is merely another subtle performance. The genuine task lies in seeing through the performance, not in destroying it with clenched fists, but in simply recognizing it for what it is, a costume. And once you perceive it as such, you can finally choose to take it off, or wear it playfully like a child delighting in a mask. For the one underneath, that silent, observing, breathing aliveness behind all the stories, the one who doesn't need to be impressive, who isn't worried about being liked, who doesn't have to be good or enlightened or enough. That one was never broken and never needed fixing. It only ever needed remembering. So then, what remains when you shed the layers? If you are not merely the ceaseless voice in your head, nor the myriad roles you have been assigned, nor the identity you have spent years so fiercely defending, what profound truth abides? Silence. The vast, unburdened space in which all thoughts arise and eventually fade away, the profound stillness that underpins all movement and dynamism. You see, awakening is not a process of accumulation. It's not about gathering spiritual merit badges or perfecting your outward personality. It is rather a profound act of subtraction, a gentle process of unlearning. Imagine a muddy pond. It achieves clarity not by further stirring, but by simply allowing the suspended particles to settle. You need not do anything special to achieve this clarity. You simply allow the internal mud to settle naturally. However, many people recoil from this silence, because in silence, the ego, with its incessant chatter, cannot maintain its dominance, and without its familiar noise, it begins to gently dissolve. Yet that is precisely where your truest nature lies concealed, not in the struggle but in the spaciousness of surrender. The self, your authentic self, is not discovered through thinking more, but through thinking less, by looking inward, not with judgment, but with genuine wonder and gentle curiosity. In that tender noticing, you begin to feel it, a quiet hum resonating beneath your chest, an expansive spaciousness where the relentless need to become something finally, beautifully dissolves. And what remains is pure, unadulterated being, present, unconditional, just as it is. So, how then does one live from this place? Liberated from all the grasping, the incessant fixing, the endless polishing? Well, consider the boundless sky. The sky does not anxiously cling to the passing clouds. It does not chase the rising sun or vehemently argue with the thunderous storm. It simply allows all things to pass through its vastness. And you, if you cease clinging so tightly to your intricate life story, can learn to live like that too. There is no longer a compulsive need to constantly edit yourself, no constant demand to be better all the time. For once, you truly realize that you are the sky and not merely the ever-changing weather patterns passing through it. Everything becomes a little lighter. You begin to trust life more deeply, not because you've suddenly figured it all out, but precisely because you no longer believe you need to. There exists a profound rhythm to things, a timeless tempo that doesn't adhere to the ticking clock, but resonates from the very core of your heart. And when you finally stop pushing so incredibly hard, you can genuinely begin to hear it. And this is the ultimate irony, isn't it? When you cease striving so intensely to live the right way, you paradoxically begin living the real way, with more wonder and less control, more playful engagement and less desperate proving. For trees do not strive to be trees, and magnificent waves do not try to crash correctly. They simply are, and so too are you. So allow yourself to be lived. Let life happen through you, without interference, without agenda, because you are just like that, and that in its boundless simplicity is more than enough. And so we return to our starting point, to that strange and utterly wonderful statement: there is absolutely nothing wrong with you at all. This is not offered as a mere comforting sentiment, but as a radical, profoundly liberating truth. You are not a broken entity that requires perpetual repair. You are not some elaborate spiritual project endlessly awaiting completion. You are, in this very moment, an unfolding mystery, a shimmering ripple in the vast ocean of eternity, a brief, beautiful song within the great, pervasive silence. And if you can perceive yourself in this way, not through the distorting lenses of judgment or self-doubt, but as an undeniable phenomenon of nature, like a wildfire, a drifting cloud, or a spinning galaxy, then you will clearly see that you were never separate. You were never too much. You were never not enough. You were and always have been, just like that. Not perfect in the conventional sense, perhaps, but profoundly whole. Not flawless, but utterly complete. And all that ultimately remains is to simply remember this truth, to drop the ingrained pretense, to take a deep soul-cleansing breath and simply be. Because once you cease chasing after some elusive future version of yourself, you will realize with profound clarity that you have been home all along. Not in the world's transient idea of success, not in someone else's fleeting approval, but in your own quiet, sacred presence, in the simple, breathtaking fact that you exist. And that in its beautiful entirety is quite enough.